And quick hack, I said, looking towards the row of vending machines. I was hanging out around the cherry blossom market, basically practicing on everything electronic. June was being a jerk, so I left the house to give him some private time. Plus I really wanted to grind out my netrunning. Pinging the vending machine let me know that it was actually connected to a small network, that according to the data I got in return, let the owners know when the vending machine was low on stock. Made sense. I sent a ping to the next machine. 100 quick hack XP gained. 100 intelligence XP gained. Intelligence leveled up. I blinked. I didn't feel any different. I checked myself over, but nothing seemed to change. When my body leveled up it was pretty noticeable, at least at first, so why was intelligence not seeming to make any changes? I pouted a little as I tried to think, but again nothing seemed out of the ordinary. I've been scammed. I grumbled, as I went back to my quick hacks. At least now I could do more breach training. But first, I wanted to level quick hacks. I wanted that knowledge download. Bored, I looked around and noticed a guy walking along. He had cheap chrome. I could tell. So I started a quick hack on him. If he noticed I would just delta. Head delta. Cyberpunk lingo was so fun. I started with a scan using my optics. It took a while. I ended up having to follow him around the market a bit before the scan completed and I got his port info. I activated the program, starting the quick hack. It was slow, the guy's security was better than a vending machine after all. Still slowly as he walked across the sidewalk I could see the ticker doing up and then it pinged him, letting me know he wasn't connecting to any networks. 100 quick hacks XP gained. Quick hacks skill level up. But as I expected, since I hadn't targeted a person until now, it gave me an immediate XP boost. Since it was something I hadn't done before. While repeating the same thing over and over would keep giving me XP, it did eventually slow drastically, but doing something new would usually make it easier to gain XP again. But my mind was a blur. Quick hacks seemed simple, and in some ways it was compared to breach protocol. But it was still so complicated. I smiled as I now simply knew what quick hacks were. The programs that could be activated on the fly to do so many different things. I hummed a bit as I thought about the best way to level it. And honestly, without a lot of people to hack, I was kinda doing it. But now I had a better understanding of the equipment. I could actually swap out programs now. I knew how to do that, and I had a feeling with a few levels I could spread hacks as well. The knowledge was there tempting me. Well, I had level 2 intelligence. Might as well get back to grinding. I grinned as I started pinging people that walked by, avoiding anyone with serious chrome. I ended up bored of just sitting on a bench and quick hacking everyone, so I started wandering. You would be amazed at how many camera systems you can see from a sidewalk. A quick breach protocol, which usually ended up meaning I had to find a place to sit as it took a minute. Then I could quick hack it surprisingly fast since I already had access to its system. Most of them I would learn were connected to a security system, or a few other cameras. It wasn't interesting knowledge in and of itself. But it was also solid XP. A couple of hours of walking around pinging and breaching everything I could find had results. Breach protocol skill level up. 1 perk point gained. Quick hacks skill level up. 1 perk point gained. Level 2 breach and quick hacks. Nice. The speed of my improvement from the baby deck I had before was insane. I was so happy I spent the eddies on this upgrade. Unfortunately, while I was getting intelligence XP alerts, it wasn't enough to push me to the next level. So I was now maxed out until I leveled intelligence. But I did have perks. I started on breach and for once I was actually pleased by the selection. Lots of options caught my eye. Wall breaking. Creates a backdoor in the system after a breach, making future access instant. Powerful breach. Break through systems much faster but causes an alert if security is strong enough. Demon Summoner. Upload a demon onto a network instantly after a breach. All of these sounded preem. In the end I went with wall breaking. I liked the idea of being able to set up stuff for later, instead of being forced to breach the system on the fly. I was distracted for a bit as I suddenly learned a lot about creating backdoors into systems. Like a lot. I shook it off and focused on quick hacks. What goodies could I find in that list? Honestly, some pretty good stuff. Quick hacks were the magic in Cyberpunk. The ability to cause someone's brain to melt with a look if you were good enough. The options were pretty useful. Quicker hack. Halves time for a quick hack. Cybersecurity. Massively increases time to quick hack or breach your system. Quick RAM. RAM restores twice as fast. There was a lot more, and quick hacks perks had a lot of prereq options, meaning that what I picked now would make a big difference in the future. But the one that grabbed my attention was probably the least offensive one. Cybersecurity. This wasn't a game. If someone hacked me here, my brain would be melting out my ears, or I would be on the ground twitching very shortly. So protecting myself sounded like a smart play, even if I would prefer to be a more stealth build in the future. Can't shoot at me if you never know I'm there. I picked it anyways, smiling as some knowledge slipped into my head on how to buff my security. Through a bit of program editing, I knew enough about quick hacking at this point to be sure. The editing wouldn't work like it should, and yet it did. Was there actually a magical component to some perks? In the end I shrugged. I had no way of knowing, and I decided to focus on the good. Anyone trying to quick hack me would be massively confused at how difficult it was. I liked it. It was time. I had made some calls over the last few days, getting some lukewarm responses, before I hit on one that actually worked. Someone selling not just what I wanted, but willing to do the alterations I needed. Hiromi was willing to drive me, so we headed out mid-afternoon. Are you going to finally tell me what this is about? She kept prodding me for information, but I knew I had to keep it a surprise. She had constantly bothered me about my style. She of course went for gang chic. I was going for something a little different. What would they call it again? Neo-militarism? I smiled. Yeah, that sounded about right. The little shop we were heading to was a little back alley deal. The sort of thing you had to know about. Hiromi parked her bike on the street. It was safe enough. There were a lot of shops here, and shopping areas, especially those held by gangs, were usually kept as crime-free as possible. Couldn't make money on the shops if you kept robbing all the customers. We walked down an alley instead of keeping to the main street. But that was on purpose. A place selling netrunning suits? It wouldn't want to be well known. Netrunners wouldn't trust a shop just on the street. No, it had to be hidden with a lot of hacking needed to figure out the location. Or if you were a normal person, you could just ask someone in the know and save yourself some time. The alley was dark and drippy. Hiromi was looking around like she was ready to stab someone, but she still didn't know what was going on exactly. Finally I found it. A door with that had a weird symbol on it. It wasn't anything I recognized, and was apparently just the symbol for the shop, as explained by the owner when I called to set my order up. Come on Hiromi, this is it. I told her as I turned and knocked on the door. I waited a minute before it slid open. A man looking like a real monster opened the door, a machine gun resting in his hands as he looked me over. Here for an order pickup. Enter. He offered, stepping back, and then Hiromi and I entered into a clothing store. Yeah. Like I said, netrunners had issues. Funnily enough, this part of the shop connected to the front of the store, so I could literally see the street as Hiromi and I walked inside. The owner was a little Asian woman sitting behind a set of bars smoking from a pipe. The entire shop had a very Asian feel to it. Most of her offerings seemed to be older-style Japanese work. Fancy. Once inside, I waved at the woman behind the bars. I'm Motoko, here about a special order? I was wondering when you would show up. You're younger than I thought, she said, immediately looking me over, and then Hiromi as well, who was looking around already checking out the clothing on the racks as if she was wondering if she wanted something. At least she had been until I mentioned a special order. Oh, you ordered something special? She whispered as I smiled at her. You have my measurements, so I doubt you're that surprised. I tell the woman, who chuckled a throaty noise. You'd be surprised, a lot of girls will chrome out to be smaller. Some guys like that. All right, come around back. Special order, I want to make sure it fits, she said, gesturing to a door in the back of the shop, which I walked through, Hiromi following, and the guard following behind both of us. The back room was just that, a room obviously where the woman worked on custom orders. She even had a little area for making adjustments while the person wore whatever clothing she had made. All right, here it is. Changing room is there, she mentions, pointing to a small curtain over a side of the room. Hardly private, but that was fine. I nodded and took the sealed bag she had given me as I walked over. Ooh, what is it? Hiromi asked, as always not caring about privacy and following me right into the little area. I rolled my eyes at her as I pulled off my little jacket, and the stupid t-shirt I had been wearing. Never going to need that again, at least on a job. And then I dropped my pants, which had a raised eyebrow from Hiromi. Don't follow me into a changing room and act surprised, I told her bluntly as I pulled open the bag, unsealing it and pulling out something I had wanted for a while. A netrunner suit, cut down, making it look more like a leotard and armored up. Although the armor was cheap, it had to be a netrunner suit and not just some off-the-rack leotard because of that armor. I needed something flexible and tight for stealth, but also something that would keep my blood on the inside if I got shot. Plus, the major Ghost in the Shell Motoko always wore something like this. Sure, I lost some of the netrunner suit's cooling function, but gained more armor. So fair trade. I grinned as I slipped it on. With only minor difficulties, it was incredibly tight, but the armor weave was able to shift and adjust, meaning I could touch my toes or bend over completely backwards without the suit bunching up or limiting my movement. I gave myself a once-over, adjusting the fit and nodding at how comfortable it was. Cool, Hiromi offered, but she obviously wasn't super into it. Not enough neon tigers or something, I am sure. With that, I slipped back on my pants, tightening the jeans, leaving plenty of skin around my hips. And my mini jacket was pulled back on. Perfect, I muttered, staring at Hiromi as I gave her a smirk as I adjusted my holster on the back of my pants. You look like a weird corpo bodyguard or something, she tells me, teasing, but I shrug. I look cool. The word you are looking for is cool. Sure, you gonk. That it? Yeah. 1 second, I grab the old shirt and walk out, noticing the shop owner was still waiting for me. Fits perfectly. You do good work. I do a lot of customizations. Can't say I've ever seen one cut one into pieces before, but you're the buyer. And I am very happy. Thank you, I told her, my eyes glowing blue as I sent the money transfer. Excellent, there is the door. Come back if you ever need more work. I will. Come on, Hiromi, I called out to her as she was distracted by something laying on a table, but she followed me back into the shop proper, and then out into the streets. I swiftly threw the t-shirt into the trash as I looked to Hiromi. Let's go. Do something cool, I tell her, earning an eager smile as whooped. Hell yeah. Bad bitches on the prowl, she cried out, racing out of the alley to jump onto her bike, which I joined her right after. The new net suit felt perfect as we roared through the city. I felt like I was actually an edge runner now. Actually a cyberpunk. I felt like I was a ghost in a shell. In the end, something cool was heading to a club. Hiromi, you gonk, I told her as she pulled up and hopped off the bike with a bounce in her step. Motoko is boring. Motoko is boring. Bleg. She actually stuck her tongue out at me. What a nerd. I leapt off the bike and pretended to chase after her, causing her to squeal at my sudden move as I chased her towards the entrance to the club. This wasn't the Ho Club. Instead, Hiromi knew of a more active dance club that obviously catered to the tiger claws. The whole place was covered in Japanese tattoos and more swords than I thought would be comfortable in a club. Buzzing high-intensity music was playing, and Hiromi and I were allowed to entry into the club after the bouncer gave us a long, thorough look with his glowing eyes, scanning us down. Apparently we were good because he let us through. Into a nightmare. So many weebs. Can you call it a period drama when no one was dressed right for the era, but everyone still acted like they were in some ancient Japanese place? The tables are tiny things that you sat around resting against cushions. Some of the flooring was faux tatami, which made me giggle. But the rest of the place was a nightclub. A bar, a DJ up on the stage, places for actual live music as well, lights and strobes and people grinding up against each other. I was 14. How the hell did they let me in here? Come on. Hiromi interrupted my meltdown by grabbing my arm and tugging me through the crowd, landing us on the dance floor. And then she started dancing. I didn't. Listen, I didn't have a dance chip, as a certain gun goblin once said. I didn't have the first clue how to dance to this music. It was electro shamisen quickstep? Hiromi mostly seemed to just be spazzing out. Motoko.x fails to run. Restart? Stop being a gonk and dance. Hiromi called out over the music, grabbing my hand and forcing me to move along with her. Fine. If only because Hiromi looked like she was trying to have fun. I had dragged her all the way around the city, at least I could do her thing now. So I danced. Badly. I wasn't quite Commander Shepard bad. At least I didn't think so. Hiromi was having fun anyways now that I was playing along. Of course she got tired before I did. She really needed more exercise. Then again this counted. So I just decided to shut up. We slipped off the dance floor and headed to the bar where I gave her a very stern frown pat and she finally gave in and ordered something non-alcoholic. We took a seat after and settled in sitting basically on the floor, even if it was cushioned. We looked over the crowd. "Isn't this great?" Hiromi said as she leaned on the table looking over the crowd with a sloppy smile on her face. "It's fun," I told her, assuring her that I had a time dancing even if this definitely wasn't my scene. I kinda wanted to go challenge some of the weebs to a sword fight though. With the music and Phototatami I bet it would be a bitching backdrop. Probably not a good idea though. My blade skill was still pretty low. "You're a new face," a voice called out from behind me far too close. Whoever it was had half a second to move in before my unity was pressed against the bottom of his jaw. The fact that I turned and could see him moving to put his arm over my shoulder solidified my desire to pull the trigger. But I didn't. Because murder was bad. Even if delicious XP was only a trigger pull away. Part of me, the secret dark part that I refused to listen to, whispered to just do it. That I could probably kill people fast enough that I could outlevel any trouble it would cause. I stuffed that voice in a box. "Hey!" A voice behind him called out as I noticed he had approached with a little posse of tiger wannabes. How did I know they were wannabes? Same as I knew Hiromi was. No ECM tats. And trying too hard. Before anything could come of it, I pulled down my gun and holstered it before purposefully standing up to slide across to the other end of the table beside Hiromi so I didn't have these strangers at my back. The guy's posse were looking angry, and he looked a little pale. Like someone had just pushed a gun against his chin. "Ha ha ha. You tried to touch Motoko, you fucking gonk. Yotomaru, how's that? You said you could get any girl you wanted, right? How's that working for you?" Hiromi laughed and mocked with absolute delight as I noticed the group of teenagers weren't looking too happy. "Hiromi, as always you look beautiful, and then open your mouth and remind us what a piece of rust you are," he says after a moment, and his posse laugh at the insult. Even Hiromi looked a little heated, but I just sat there staring. What was even happening? "Hiromi? Who's this?" I asked, looking the teenager and his little crew over. The teen was probably a little older than us. Katana on his hip. He was rich. Like Hiromi, his clothes were brand new, everything fit and clean. The girl beside him. The one that was pissed at me for pulling my gun. No katana. No gun on her hips. Instead I could tell her arms. Cyberware. Mantis? Yeah, I could see the seams. Mantis blades. It wasn't high quality chrome though. Looked old. Still deadly. The other two chooms were armed. Guns and a machete. Not enough eddies for a katana? This annoying kid is Suisun Tamaru. He likes to come down with his groupies and spend his parents' eddies while slumming it. Could say the same to you, Hiromi Mitsunashi. Could show you what it's really like on the streets, Tamaru. How about that? Hiromi threatened, looking as if she was going to draw a blade and cut him down. She didn't have her sword on her though. How about we ease up? This is a club. I butt in, pulling Hiromi back into sitting from where she had risen up looking for a fight. Yeah, Hiromi, listen to your pet street tune. He mocked, which seemed to fire up Hiromi, but I wasn't even insulted. Lazy insult. 2/10 at best. I just rolled my eyes as I held Hiromi down. If you are just here to hurl insults and try to start something, can you leave? We were having a nice time. I tell him, frowning at this nonsense interruption. Now why would I do that? I haven't had a chance to talk to Hiromi here in weeks. She is skipping so much I barely ever see her. What was your class ranking again? Last? Better than you, where you actually try to please mommy and daddy and you are still lower middle of the pack. Moron, Hiromi hissed, but the guy just smiled, not bothered by Hiromi's insults. Ugh, these children were ruining my mood. I didn't even want to be here. Considering the angry yelling, mostly from Hiromi, I wasn't surprised when someone intervened. A much older man, who was definitely Tiger Claws, stepped up to the table looking down on everyone. I just gave him a bored look. Is there a problem here? He asked, looking over every one of the kids with a glare. Because if there is, I will have to take care of it. No, no problem. Just a friendly discussion between friends. Tamaru denied with a smile as he turned to Hiromi. We will finish our discussion another time, Hiromi. Do let me know when you are done playing pretend. He offered before turning. I got a glare from the girl he had been walking with before she too followed after him. That was irritating. Thanks. I called out to the Tiger Claw, who didn't look like he appreciated having to step in. If you cause problems again, we will remove you, he says, simply staring at me. Whatever, guy. No need to act all overwhelming. Come on, Motoko. I want to dance a bit more, get Tamaru out of my head. Sure. I jogged into the apartment after hitting the gym. Unfortunately, while I got a few body XP alerts while pumping iron, I didn't get anything for an hour of using the punching bag. I think I was running into the end of the diminishing returns for that particular grind. The idea of finding a fighting pit was getting more and more tempting. I shook that off and decided to check my stats. Motoko Kusanagi. Level 2. Body 5. Athletics 5. Street Brawler 3. Reflex 3. Blades 2. Handguns 3. Assault 2. Driving 2. Intelligence 2. Breach Protocol 2. Quick Hacks 2. Cool 2. Ninjutsu 2. Cold Blood 2. Technical Attribute 1. 2 Stat Point, 2 Skill Point. Perks. Ambidextrous Blades 2. Quick Draw Handguns 2. Gun Nut Assault 2. Parkour Athletics 2. Grappling Street Brawler 2. Drive-by Driver 2. Cat-like Athletics 5. Cool Nerves Cold Blood 2. Danger Sense Ninjutsu 2. Wall Breaking Breach Protocol 2. Cybersecurity Quick Hack 2. That technical attribute was looking real low. But I also knew that it was going to be an expensive stat to train. I didn't have a lot of junk stuff I could mess with, and without a car it's not like I could drive out to the dump to grab scrap. So I pushed it to the side for now. Soon. Very soon I would set some time down to do some crafting. Cause crafting is broken. Instead I refocused on my other stats. Body was high because it was easy to just exercise. Reflex was high-ish, but mostly because it had a lot of skills. But it was also not moving a lot. Intelligence was the same, but it had less skills. So far. Although I had noticed it would pop when I had studied the Netrunner guide. So studying would help. That felt really boring though. Cool. I shivered. The only time it went up was when I killed. I wasn't sure what its steal was. But I had a way of grinding it. I just refused to do it. For now. Then there at the bottom I saw something I had been pretending didn't exist. Stat and skill points. I could level a stat and skill twice. They were just sitting there. My initial thought was to balance out my skills, but that was a trap. Specialization at low levels, jack of all trades at the end. I could level cool, I told myself. The idea of increasing my stealth was appealing. It was one of the biggest force multipliers I had. Don't have to worry about getting shot if they never knew you were there. But was it the right choice? Intelligence might be better. It was hard to level in a way. More time intensive at least. And I could upgrade my netrunning. That appealing future where I walk into a group of enemies and they kill themselves without me having to lift a finger was tempting. Or I could increase my reflex. Since I had so many skills under that stat it would give me a lot to grind. Not that I wasn't already able to grind most of it. Uck. I groaned as I rolled over and put my head into a couch cushion and groaned as loud as I could. I've always been terrible about deciding. I reminded myself. Hoarding items or stat points in games until long after I should. I shook it off. I shouldn't be getting lost in my own head. I have lots of things to keep grinding. I reminded myself even if my XP was slowing down. I need a job. Something to get me out of my head. I spoke up to the empty room. I think I was past the point of hiding in my apartment and grinding basic skills. I think it was time to start acting like a real street kid. I sent a message to Wakako and Ichi. Got any gigs lined up? Then I rose up and started doing some knife training. I probably won't get much from it, but I wasn't going to sit around doing nothing. An hour later I got a message from Ichi, saying he had nothing currently. Then I got a response from Wakako about a gig. I had practically cheered jumping up and down for a moment in the apartment, as I rushed to get dressed in my gear before I checked the message and deflated. It was a courier run. I sighed, slapped my cheeks a bit to focus myself, and stepped out of the apartment. A gig is a gig. I needed to prove myself still. I was only a kid. Not every job is going to be about sneaking into a chino chop shop to steal data. It was incredibly boring, doubly so since I didn't have a car. I picked up the package from a small noodle shop over in Hayward, took the bus or train up to Kabuki, handed it off at an old apartment to a girl that didn't even fully open the door along with a chain holding her door closed, got paid in practically anise, and walked home. Package confirmed. Gig is closed. That was all Wakako sent me. I was back home and groaning into my cushions within an hour. The next day I got another gig from Wakako. This time it was a woman that wanted to get something from her boyfriend's apartment after a fight, and wanted protection. It ended with me pistol whipping the boyfriend, which did give me an alert for street brawling XP, which was nice, and the woman got her shard she had left behind. Client is happy. Gig is closed. Wakako sent me as I was on the train back home. Wakako ended up sending me a gig request without prompting the next day. A woman had been carjacked and robbed by a small-time gang. Some group of chums that decided that their little family meant they were a gang and had started doing some carjacking in Rancho Coronado. I wasn't hired to bring back the car, or get revenge on her carjackers. No, that would have been fun. No, she just wanted her wedding ring back and was actually paying the fuckers ransom for it. I was the middleman. I had even asked if they wanted them dead. But nope. The ring was the absolute priority. I sighed and ended up taking the bus down. They wanted to meet in a gas station parking lot. I internally cringed when I read that detail. A gas station? Not an abandoned warehouse or a gang house? A gas station? I sighed as I stepped off the bus, taking in the dusty gas station and rundown neighborhood. This was the place. With a grimace I noticed 5 teenagers, the youngest probably younger than me, all waiting on the steps in front of the gas station. Damn it. They fit the description. They definitely noticed me just get off the bus. Fuck, how embarrassing. What kind of merc took the fucking bus? There goes my rep. Unless I flatline them all? No. They were kids. I sighed, shoulders slumping as I approached them. Archer and the bad boys? I grimaced as I asked. That's us, chum. Shit, you're just a kid? You are middleman? Apparently Wakako has a sense of humor. I informed them, although none understood. I did. Wakako, you bitch. Send the teenager to deal with a gang of teenagers? Yeah, I got the message. Maybe she was a little pissed with me bothering her every day? I would have to figure it out later. You got the ring? Yeah? Maybe, maybe not. You got our Eddies? The tallest boy, their obvious leader, stood up, a shotgun gripped in one hand and resting on his shoulder, asked. Confirmation of the item first. Payment after. No need to turn this into some XPD action star bullshit. Client wants the ring, willing to give the Eddies. Don't make this difficult. I told him, a little bored. Honestly. What did Wakako think I was? He didn't seem pleased at how bored I was, and his little groupies were looking trigger happy, but none of them really worried me. I was 99% sure I could outdraw them all. Even if the idea of killing a bunch of kids didn't sit well with me, even with my gamer brain. I sighed. Just prove you have the ring. I will transfer half. You give me the ring, I transfer the rest. You got me outnumbered. I am sure you want the Eddies more than you want a ring. Right? Yeah. Guess so, he said, glaring a bit. Dug around in his pocket with his offhand, never taking his hand off the shotgun before pulling out a little wedding ring. I did a quick check comparing it to the image I had been sent. Match. All right. Here is half, I said, my eyes going blue as I deposited the Eddies in his account. Honestly, it was pocket change. A few hundred Eddies. This little gang was probably pretty hard up. All right. He took a step forward and offered me the ring. When I went to grab it, I caught it. A motion out of the corner of my eye. I almost sighed. My gun was drawn and pointed into the face of the boy that had been moving up to brain me with a pipe. I had a gun pointed at me a moment later, along with a few pipes and a knife. I wasn't gonna flatline a 12-year-old. I just wasn't. You really wanted to go down this way? I prompted as the leader's shotgun was aimed at me. Why not? I think we got you outnumbered and outgunned. Bet you have some eddies on you, a rich girl like you. Bet you got some other things we can use on you as well. Rich? I'm a street kid working as a merc. I do odd jobs, you gonk. You did see me get off the damn bus, right? I mocked before sighing. You really want someone to die over this? You are already getting what you want. Don't turn this into a gunfight. Maybe I do. Maybe I want that shooter you got. Looks preem. Save me from street kids with more balls than brains. I moaned. I was gonna have to do something. Fuck it. I pulled the trigger. At the same moment I rushed the leader. Of course I didn't shoot the kid, shot right over his head, but a bullet going off real close causes everyone to jerk and dodge. I hit the leader full bore. I might have been smaller than him, but he was an underfed street kid playing gangster. I was a gamer. Wait, that came out wrong. I was the gamer. Better. I grabbed his shotgun and pushed it up. Moron was still holding it one-handed like some chromed-out Borg. The shotgun went off, and he probably just wrecked his wrist. Which is about when I pistol whipped him. He went down with a yelp, blood already streaming from his nose as I held his shotgun. I flinched as a bullet whizzed past my head. I turned the kid with the gun. He looked second oldest. God, was this whole little group just a family of brothers? His gun was shaking and he was definitely trying for a second shot. So I did the only thing I could think of that wasn't shooting him. I chucked my unity at his head. He flinched, another round going off, and I really prayed that he hadn't just shot me in my gonk brain. But he went down a moment later, crying out as the pistol bounced off his head with a loud thunk. All right. I think that is enough of that, I yelled as loud as I could, racking the shotgun as I stormed over to the kid securing both pistols as the other boys all flinched, brandishing their melee weapons. Fucking bat, you broke my nose. The leader cried out as he started to stand back up looking furious. Until I turned and shot a round of his own shotgun over his head. He hastily dropped back down and the boys were all freaking out. You really did this? You turned a simple fucking job into a shootout. Well, congrats, you are now outgunned and disarmed. The rest of you put those pipes and knives down or else. I growled, looking around as the boys were all hesitating and not looking great. The youngest looked like he was gonna piss himself since I had pointed a handgun at him. I reached down, not taking my eyes off them, and picked up my unity, reholstering it and then grabbing the Lexington. I realized the moment I picked it up that the kid had. All right. All of you shut up. Stop your moaning. Now before anything else. You gonk brain. Give me the ring, I demanded, waving the shotgun at the leader who looked at me like I was crazy. I wasn't crazy. I didn't fuck up a perfectly easy ransom deal because I got greedy. That was crazy. Come on, stop looking at me. Does it look like I have the ring? No. Hand it over, I yelled to startle the group. Fuck you. He grumbled as he looked around, checking his hands and then his pockets before he realized he didn't know where it was. Oh chum. Don't you tell me you dropped the ring and now you lost it. If it's gone I will flatline you just to deal with my frustration, so you better find my target quick fast. I say, absolutely level as I cocked the shotgun again, not caring that I sent a shell flying. I just wanted the noise. It worked. The teen hurriedly looked around his feet. His chums were nervously looking around but mostly just staring at me. Finally he found it and wiped it down a bit. I checked it, snatched it out of his hand and stuffed it into one of my leg pouches just to make sure it wouldn't disappear again. Then, because I felt like being that sort of bad bitch, I sent the rest of the money. Next time remember, you will just get zeroed if people can't trust you to keep to your word. Now, one last thing you owe me for this bullshit. Lady's car you klept. Where is it? Downed, got it, he mumbled, and I rolled my eyes at his words. I didn't ask if you had it. I asked where it is. Donnie's. The second oldest said from where he was sitting, rubbing his head from where I had donked him. Chop shop run by 6th Street. We sell our cars there. Transfer the deets, I demanded, and the teens all sort of wavered before his eyes shifted into a yellow and I got a text. All right. Now learning experience here, chums. You make a deal that earns you some eddies. Follow through, don't turn a simple thing into a mess. Or people die. Be glad I don't like killing kids, I said before simply turning and walking down the street. Gotta wait for the fucking bus. So embarrassing. I settled in near the bus stop across the street and literally watched as the kids picked themselves up and sort of limped out of the parking lot and back home. What a bunch of gonks. Dash. The ring got left in a Dropbox. The deets about where the car was sent to Waikiko. Waikiko sent a confirmation not long after. Couple more innies in my pocket, but not nearly enough to cover dealing with such a massive shit show. At least I had a shotgun now. I had gotten an alert during the fight but hadn't checked it. Annihilation experience gained. Skill not unlocked, no XP gained. Annihilation unlocked. Cool. This skill covered shotguns and machine guns. I really needed to hit that gun range again. June had been quiet ever since he came back chromed up. Right now he was out of the apartment. I hadn't seen him in 2 days. My messages at least were getting a response back, but it was usually something like, busy. Can't talk now. Here is some eddies for food. Stuff like that. I was growing frustrated by it all. The worst thing was I knew exactly what he was doing. The Maelstrom Tiger Claw gang war was heating up. Tiger Claws attacking Maelstrom back had only pissed off the other gang instead of ending it. Apparently Maelstrom wanted more territory in Kabuki. Tiger Claws took offense to that. It was getting nasty. Not quite at the level of total war on the streets. But gang hangouts or fronts on both sides were getting hit daily. It was even on the news. I walked into the apartment after a long awkward ride on public transit. Having everyone staring at me and my new shotgun was super awkward. I had even pretended to make a call so my eyes were glowing yellow just so I could pretend I wasn't paying attention to them. I walked into the apartment and sighed, setting the shotgun on the table and flopping onto the couch. My anxiety was rising up again. June was being a butt. I was tempted to head out and hunt him down and stick to him on his little raids. Watch his back. But I sighed. I didn't even have a vehicle. It would be stupidly easy for June to lose me even if the Tiger Claws would help. Which I had a feeling they wouldn't. Mid-gang war they weren't going to let a kid chase after her brother. Which meant I had 2 options. Sit here and spiral into my own mind. Or get up and do some grinding, and maybe be ready to do something when June does get in trouble. The problem is speed. I had been happy slowly grinding up some stats and skills. Enjoying just living. But June was forcing me to escalate. I was looking at the shotgun. Fingers tapping. Foot bouncing. That niggling feeling surging up. What was more valuable to me? June's life? Or the lives of a couple scavs? That was the thought that convinced me. That crystallized my resolve. The Solo's guide had said to decide on the reasons that would force you to kill. For June? To be able to help him? To save him? Yeah, I would kill. I would kill a lot. I was calm. Decided. I needed more stat points, and to use the stat points I already had. My hands stopped fidgeting. My foot stopped tapping, and I could feel my eyes narrow. I owed June, and in a way I owed the scavs too. I had been afraid, unsure if I could do it. If I could even survive an assault on a scav den. If that was the worry, then I would just have to make sure I would. I didn't need stats alone to ensure a victory. Surprise, overwhelming firepower, and a few tricks would suit me just fine. It would be nice if I had a couple grenades, don't you think? I muttered, an old movie reference that I loved, that probably didn't exist in this world. I did know where the gun shop was. And I had some eddies in my pocket thanks to my jobs for Waikiko. I stood up halfway out the door when I remembered something else. A quick detour to pick up that stupid Boya and I was back out the door. Still needed ammo and a holster for that monster. Just in case I run into some Borg. Dash. I walked out of the gun shop pocket light on eddies, but full of fun. Ammo and a shoulder holster for the Boya meant it was secure and hidden under my little jacket. The holster even had a few spots to hold the grenades I had bought. I was ready. I slipped onto the train and the whole way I was calm. I thought my hands would start shaking or my stomach would do flips, but they just didn't. It was time to kill some scavs. Idly I pulled up my stat menu. It was time. 2 points went into cool, and the 2 skill points went into ninjutsu, bringing them both to level 4. As much as it burned, I was once again maxing out the skill. I needed stealth if this was going to work. I exhaled as the information slipped into my mind. My body adjusting. A few simple shifts in the way I was sitting. The way I held myself. To better move silently. To better keep my movements from being picked up by the eyes all around me. To more easily reach for the weapon if someone did notice. Yeah. I was ready.